In order for plants to grow, they need inputs of carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The chemical process by which plants use these resources to manufacture glucose, the building blocks of plants, is called photosynthesis.
What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a chemical reaction that takes place inside a plant, producing food for a plant to survive. Carbon dioxide, water, and light are all needed for photosynthesis to take place. Photosynthesis happens in the leaf of a plant. The process of photosynthesis. Plants need food to repair, grow, and reproduce. Unlike animals, plants are able to make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place in the part of the plant cell containing chloroplasts. These are small structures that contain chlorophyll. For photosynthesis to take place, plants need to take in carbon dioxide from the air, water from the ground, and light, usually from the sun. How are leaves adapted for photosynthesis? They are green because they contain lots of chlorophyll to absorb sunlight. They have a large surface area to maximize the amount of sunlight they can absorb. They are thin, allowing easy diffusion of gases into and out of leaf. They have veins to allow the transport of water, mineral, iron, and glucose.
The light-dependent reactions use light energy to make two molecules needed for the next stage of photosynthesis. The energy storage molecule ATP and the reduced electron carrier NADPH. In plants, the light reactions take place in the thylakoid membranes of organelles called chloroplasts. So the light-dependent reaction is where we take light as an input along with water, and we will see the water is actually a source of electrons in the form of ATP and NADPH. And as a byproduct, we produce molecular oxygen, which is very important for us to breathe. And then that ATP and that NADPH can be used in the Calvin cycle, along with carbon dioxide, to actually synthesize sugar. The definition of a photosystem. Photosynthetic pigments such as chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and carotenoids are light harvesting molecules found in the thylakoid membranes of chloroplasts. Pigments are organized along with proteins into complexes called photosystems. Each photosystem has light harvesting complexes that contain proteins, 300 to 400 chlorophylls, and other pigments. When a pigment absorbs a photon, it is raised to an excited state, meaning that one of its electrons is boosted to a higher energy orbital. There are two types of photosystems in the light-dependent reactions, photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. Photosystem 2 comes first in the path of electron flow, but it is named as second because it was discovered after photosystem 1. The first step of light-dependent reaction is excitation of photosystems by light energy. Photosystems are groups of photosynthetic pigments, including chlorophyll, embedded within the thylakoid membrane. Photosystems are classed according to their maximal absorption wavelength. When a photosystem absorbs light energy, the localized electrons within the pigments become energized or excited. These excited electrons are transferred to carrier molecules within the thylakoid membrane. The next step of light-dependent reactions is production of ATP with an electron transport chain. Excited electrons from photosystem 2 are transferred to an electron transport chain within the thylakoid membrane. As the electrons are passed through the chain, they lose energy, which is used to translocate hydrogen plus ions into the thylakoid. This buildup of protons within the thylakoid creates an electrochemical gradient or proton motive force. The hydrogen plus ion return to the stroma along the proton gradient, with the transmembrane enzyme ATP synthase or chemiosmosis. ATP synthase uses the passage of hydrogen plus ions to catalyze the synthesis of ATP from ADP plus PI. This process is called photophosphorylation, as light provided the initial energy source for ATP production. The newly de-energized electrons from photosystem 2 are taken up by photosystem 1. The last step of light-dependent reaction is reduction of NADP+ and the photolysis of water. Excited electrons from photosystem 1 may be transferred to a carrier molecule and used to reduce NADP+. This forms NADPH, which is needed in conjunction with ATP for the light-independent reactions. The electrons lost from photosystem 1 are replaced by de-energized electrons from photosystem 2. The electrons lost from photosystem 2 are replaced by electrons released from water with photolysis. Water is split by light energy into H+ ions used in chemiosmosis and oxygen released as a byproduct. Having analyzed the issue of the light-dependent reactions, the light-dependent reactions occur within the intermembrane space of the thylakoids. Chlorophyll in photosystem 1 and 2 absorb light, which triggers the release of high-energy electrons, photoactivation. Excited electrons from photosystem 2 are transferred between carrier molecules in an electron transport chain. The electron transport chain translocated H+ ions from the stroma to within the thylakoid, creating a proton gradient. The protons are returned to the stroma with the ATP synthase, which use their passage with chemiosmosis to synthesize ATP. Excited electrons from photosystem 1 are used to reduce NADP+, forming NADPH. The electrons lost from photosystem 1 are replaced by the de-energized electrons from photosystem 2. The electrons lost from photosystem 2 are replaced following the photolysis of water. The productions of the light-dependent reactions, ATP and NADPH, are used in the light-independent reactions next.
The Kevin cycle is a part of photosynthesis. The process plants and other autotrophs use to create nutrients from sunlight and carbon dioxide. The process was first identified by American biochemist Dr. Marvin Kevin in 1957. Every living thing on Earth depends on the Kevin cycle. Plants depend on the Kevin cycle for energy and food. Other organisms, including herbivores, also depend on it indirectly because they depend on plants for food. Even organisms that eat other organisms, such as carnivores, depend on the Kevin cycle. Without it, they won't have the food, energy, and nutrients they need to survive. The Kevin cycle is a series of reactions that result in conversion of carbon dioxide into the organic molecules needed to build new cells. It occurs in the stroma, which is the area of the chloroplast surrounding the thylakoid membrane. During the Kevin cycle, carbon dioxide CO2 is added to a 5 carbon molecules called RUBP. The resulting 6 carbon molecule is unstable and quickly split 3-phosphoglycerate. Using energy from ATP and reducing power from NADPH, which are products of the light reaction, the pair of 3-phosphoglycerate move through a series of reactions and are converted into 2 molecules of 3-phosphate. When several of these three phosphate molecules have been produced. Some combined of make glucose, while others are reused in the Kevin cycle to generate an entirely new glucose molecule. The cycle has to turn several times because each turn of the cycle adds only one carbon atom from each molecule of carbon dioxide.
The summary of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis requires sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water as starting reactants. After the process is complete, photosynthesis releases oxygen and produces carbohydrate molecules, most commonly glucose. These sugar molecules contain the energy that living things need to survive. Autotrophs store chemical energy in carbohydrate food molecules. They build themselves. Most autotrophs make their food through photosynthesis using the energy of the sun. Photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast, an organelle specific to plant cells. The light reactions of photosynthesis occur in the thylakoid membranes of the chloroplast. Electron carrier molecules are arranged in electron transport chains that produce ATP and NADPH, which temporarily store chemical energy. The light reactions capture energy from sunlight, which they change to chemical energy that is stored in molecules of NADPH and ATP. The light reactions also release oxygen gas as a waste product. The reactions of the Calvin cycle add carbon from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to a simple 5-carbon molecule called IUBP. The Calvin cycle reactions use chemical energy from NADPH and ATP that were produced in the light reactions. The final product of the Calvin cycle is glucose. Thank you for watching our video. We hope that our video might help you understand more about photosynthesis. Thank you.